Hello and welcome, one and all. I always used to say good morning or good afternoon, but this is the internet, so who knows what time it is for you right now. But thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live, if you're listening to this pre-recorded, thank you also. You're listening to Recruiting EQ. This is a podcast, a discussion program, and today in particular, a panel discussion program, which advocates for emotional quotient and humanity in a world that is filled with AI and all this good stuff, particularly in the hiring world. This is episode 86 somehow. That flew by. And I just called it starting strong in 26. I think this is our first panel of the month, and everybody's just kind of like, whoa, 2026. That sounds like science fiction, or maybe it's just me. But anyway, thank you for being here, our lovely panelists. I know I advertised 3 people. Unfortunately, one could not make it. She had a sort of a small-time family issue, but hopefully we'll have her on next month. But thank you for being here, Kristen and Christina. I've done this to myself yet again. Thanks for being here, you guys. Maybe we can go around the room, and if you guys want to introduce yourselves and say a little bit about what you do, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Kristen Mayo. I am here in the Dallas area. I'm an independent consulting. I like to refer to myself as a people first consultant and a founder in the making. I am in the business development space of accounting, finance, HR, and clerical. And I'm just a people person. So I love what I do and happy to be on your show, Rick.
Awesome. Love founder in the making. That's good. You should change your LinkedIn to that. That's good. just FYI. Christina, hit it.
Hitting it. I'm Christina Jones-Loesch. I work with Baden International. That's an international recruitment agency firm. I focus actually on the California transportation engineering space, oddly specific, but that is what I've been doing the past 4 years, and it's great to be back on your show.
And thank you for being back on our show. So yeah, it's a Dallas. What is it about Dallas and the surrounding area that everybody in staffing has the same name in a different form? What's up with that, you guys? Because I think if we talked about this off camera, we have Christina Jones-Loesch and Kristen Jones-Mayo. Is what we're dealing with.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great question. I'm actually born and raised in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Okay.
So it has traveled to the Texas border, the name.
Because you're like, something tells me I should go to Texas. Like every other Kristen, Christina, and Christine Jones in the world. It's like, we should go to Texas and be on Rick's show.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Hey, as long as the borders are open.
Yeah.
Come one, come all.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, so both you guys have been working in the Dallas recruiting market and sales and all this kind of stuff for some time. How are you guys? One of the things I'd like to ask panelists when they come in before we get heavy into the success and wellness is also like, what have you guys seen that's changed about your job or about the market in the past year, now that we're kicking off 2026? And then it comes to mind you feel like has changed about the vibe or what's working out there or how you're feeling about it?
Christina, why don't you tackle that?
Okay. So I've been doing the same California transportation engineering market and land surveying, to be fair, for about 4 years now. So I have seen some slight differences year to year. I would say when I was thinking about just this on my own, because I think that's a natural question that we also get asked from our younger consultants or less experienced, like, well, have you seen the market change? And for me, I think when you mentioned AI, that was something that I think has kind of started to affect not just probably my market, but maybe multiple markets, because a lot of the folks that we probably interact with as recruitment consultants, recruiters, headhunters, whatever you want to call us, is that a lot of us do our jobs remotely. And that is great that we can, have that kind of flexibility. But realistically, I think with the introduction of AI and all these deepfakes and things that are happening, people have become more wary, in my opinion, to interact from, I guess, more cold calls or less familiar interactions with people. They want to know that who they're talking to is a real person, that they can have that kind of human connection. And so I feel like my strategy then has shifted, or I've prioritized more in-person networking, which for me, that means flying out to California. So I'm not saying I can do that all the time, just
Sure.
because while my company does, comp me for all of that, it does mean more time away from my family. So balancing that is sometimes difficult. But that's where I also kind of have the most fun, because I also, just like Chris was saying, I'm a people person at the end of the day. I think you kind of have to be in this line of work to some extent, even if you're an introvert like myself. Like, what I do like doing for my job is interacting with others.
Mhm.
Uh, and so it's great when I can go to networking events. I just got back from Washington, D.C., which is really cool because it was the largest transportation conference that maybe in the world that's hosted, with the Transportation Research Board. So two others joined me in that for my company, and we had a blast getting to actually interact with people, some that we've met before on other trips, some obviously that were brand new. But everyone's always impressed, especially when recruiters go to their market and meet
Right.
them there, not just try to do the whole remote thing or cold calling thing all the time.
And do you feel like that's positively impacted your?
Oh yeah, I mean, the trip before that, when I went to San Francisco for another conference, I had people reaching back out to me or connecting with me on LinkedIn instead of the other way around, like it normally is, saying, "Hey, it was so great to actually see you, meet you. Love that you're a real person. You're really fun to talk to. I'm going to work with you." And I do feel like that part of the other strategy change, if you will, that I've seen be very effective for me in the past few months have been really just, now that I've done this also for a few years,
Yeah.
to be fair, I can rely on my network that I've built out. So it's a lot less cold outreach, more warm outreach, and also like asking for referrals or what conferences they're going to and making those kind of plans. So that way they know that I'm earnestly trying to connect with them. I'm not just trying to sell them into some new job, but actually want to understand them, develop some kind of relationship with them. And it goes for business development too. It's not just, getting resumes and candidates. Like, that's how I've brought on clients typically, is when I go meet them in person and they can have that kind of interaction with me. Because we're all just trying to, make those relationships happen.
Yep.
So then we can work with people that we like.
That's true. But yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point you raised about nurturing your network too, right? Not just meeting them and but that nurturing that network so you can reach out to them for referrals, and it isn't a glorified cold call, right? They actually know you, they'll talk to you. That makes sense. And you're saying you feel people are starved for that a little bit, right? Like they're like falling over themselves almost to write to you afterwards. Like, what a novel experience. A human recruiter.
I mean,
crazy.
Unfortunately, I think in our line of work, a lot of us are drawn to certain industries. I think recruitment in particular, a lot of people love the idea that I don't necessarily have to have a master's or PhD.
Right.
There's no degree in recruiting. So really anyone from any degree can join it. But I think the ones that actually find the most success, the ones that are actually willing to kind of take it, to the next level, which unfortunately, it doesn't sound like it's that next level or that novelty of a concept, but just going and meeting people in person and shaking a hand, making eye contact, is huge. And I think that especially now that we have a lot of firms, at least the ones I've worked with, that are going to probably stick with some kind of hybrid schedule. They are interacting even internally within their own firms or teams a lot less with people. And so even though I may not be, on their team or their direct coworker, just getting to interact with more people is still maybe filling in some gaps they're seeing internally in their firms. Because that is something that some people still want to do, the fully remote thing, that's fine. But some people realize, you know what, hybrid or fully remote, it isn't all that. I really do want to actually work with people, not just spreadsheets, numbers, AutoCAD, whatever the systems is they're working with all day.
For sure. AutoCAD all day long for I have no idea how to do AutoCAD, but no, you're right. For some people, Kristen, what are you seeing? I mean, you and I had talked, I want to say at length, and you spoke quite passionately about some of the things that you're thinking and feeling about the way this industry is going.
No.
Where to start?
I'm thinking, how do we unpack this? So I got in this industry about 10 years ago. I got in at a time where we were in the office 8 to 5 a.m. every day. If you got there at 8 o'clock, you were late, right? We had morning powwows. We're going over all of the job orders, all of the candidates we want to take to market, what we're doing for our clients day in and day out, really advocating for them and really giving them the white glove. When I first started in this industry, I want to say 2016, that was the name of the game. And if you were not doing that, you were getting left behind. Fast forward, it has become more of an email intake, AI driven community. And for those of us that got into the industry early on, it's kind of brutal, right? It's kind of brutal. Sometimes I'm sending out emails and I'm communicating with potential clients and I'm like, hey, I'd love to come to your site, right? We meet our candidates in person. We want to absolutely meet our clients in person too, right? We want to make the match. We want to make a good, intelligent match to make sure that these candidates will thrive in the environment in which they work. And so that's always been, my number one goal is to place candidates in environments in which they'll thrive. Because people can teach skill, right? But we can't teach the personality and character that might thrive in a more subtle environment or a more high risk, salesy, open bullpen environment. So you got to kind of get to know your client and your candidate. And I will say it has become a beating trying to get on client sites, trying to get in front of those clients and really make that true connection. Also, I just think there's a load balance when it comes to AI kind of being the vehicle in which you can get new clients and represent candidates. But then us, as our people first selves, have to be the ones to kind of finish out that sentence. So I think it's a slippery slope, right? Some use the AI through and through, right? They do the intake, they do the notes, they do it all, they submit. They're probably cutting checks. We don't know, right? But I think there has to be a load balance between the two. And I think that's going to set us up for more success. Training mechanisms, just different things that AI can be used for, email campaigns, market data. All of those things are great and at our fingertips. And I think those things should be used. But the biggest and the challenging thing that I see now is you can't use too much of the non-human aspect of it and then expect human aspect results at the end of it. So I think kind of that's where the rubber, meets the road. So like Christina says, I'm glad that you're getting out and getting in front of clients. And if you have to fly to their sites, and you will find that those relationships are more organically grown than, just a cattle chute business, right? Push them out, push them in, revolving doors. I don't think we're at a time, those that's been in this industry for a while, right? I just don't think there's a space for that. It's all roads has to lead back to that human interaction. So I am hopeful that, as the movement continues, we can get more of the human interaction, the shaking hands, looking people in their eyes, really understand, passing along body language, becoming synergy partners. All of those things is what's needed, I think, in today's staffing market.
Yeah, agreed. And I feel like, I feel like the whole leaning on AI and email sequences and stuff like that has a lot to do with this attitude from the top where it's like, it's just a numbers game, as you often hear. Like, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. I'm not saying it's not a numbers game, but I think the big question now that we have so many tools that can do volume for us is, what are the numbers that we care about? What are the numbers that are important, right? And if none of those numbers are how many real human beings did you meet or form relationships with, maybe you're setting yourself up to be completely replaced by AI eventually. Like, some hiring manager will just use AI. If there's no reason for a human being to be involved in your process, you're probably in trouble in a couple of years of being out of business. Because why would the hiring manager not just get a bunch of tools to replace you if that's what you're doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. I've always said that. I mean, I like AI. It does wonders when it comes to analytical data, right? Business meetings that need to be summarized. All of those things are great. Copilot has a really good feature of doing that as well. But this is a human interactive industry, and we can't turn it into a non-human interactive industry, unless, like you said, Rick, I am going to interview a bot, and that bot is going to go work for another bot. In that case, we're not needed. But I do think the industry does need us.
Yeah, agreed. Two things I'm just going to point out and take this quick second to say we got a couple comments come through. Jessica says, good morning from Dallas. Hi, guys, which is lovely. Javier says, good morning from the Alamo Taco City. Little taco emoji. Love that. And then also writes, spot on. Yeah, love that from Javier too. So lively in Dallas today. Guys, if you're commenting, any questions you have for the panel too, at some point today, we're going to get to talking about success and wellness, but I think this all plays into it. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions and hit us up. Do you guys know in Dallas? I think we talked about this last time, Christina. Maybe I don't know if you were on that panel because it was the Dallas panel, Austin versus Texas panel that you were on. If you remember that one, not versus, but cousins. It was we were talking about. Indeed had a light industrial kind of recruiting brand with a bunch of people around the world. And there were people in Dallas who were working fully remotely, and 100% of them were replaced at the same time, about, I want to say 6-7 months ago. So they were all just let go. This one woman I spoke to, lovely woman who was with them for like 5 years. Everyone was replaced by AI bots. And they were AI bots that's like an avatar of a person that's just kind of like, hi, I'm Rick, and I'm your AI recruiter. Talking
that's
to these
too good of
people.
a voice.
Right. The voice was spot on. Rick, are you not Rick? Please click the bottom right to make sure you are a human.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Everyone's going to question it now. I'm just kind of like, that was a great idea. It was creative. It was innovative. And I think you should go for it. Like,
we need a captcha.
Yeah, I know, to prove that I'm real. But yeah, what do you guys think of that? Like, is there a tipping point where it's like, listen, this is just an intake to see if a warm body is available to show up and do a forklift job. It's okay to have that AI avatar because they're not using the human connection, and so it's okay? Or is it short-sighted because you're like, well, then this AI is not going to know who had a good attitude in the interview next time we need a forklift person. So they're not going to know which one that, you're always starting from scratch, right? Like, so I go back and forth as to even that. Is it acceptable? Does it make sense?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm sure Kristen does too. But I would say, like, I have a friend who's been looking for a job, let's say for 6+ months. And I'm sure he's used Indeed. I know he's used LinkedIn, Easy in Apply or whatever it is. And he tells me about how he gets like robocalls from interviewers, but they're robots, and they'll call him at like 2 a.m. or like something crazy, and obviously he can't ask any questions, or at least more detailed questions back. So I think from just hearing his perspective and what I would kind of imagine if I were to put myself in those shoes, it would really make me hesitant to want to work for a place that can't give me potentially a promising applicant, basically anyone, like any real person's time of day to interact with me, and that they have to do it through some kind of screening bot process. Like, I know that we always have to get screened initially from just on paper, right? So to think that now I have to get further screened from a robot by having a conversation, it's just, I'm more further removed from what to me seems like the meat and potatoes of an interview process. And also, to me, if a firm is not going to put that much effort into trying to get to know me or interview me, why should I with them? Is kind of my initial thoughts, I would say.
That's a good point. Good point. I like that. Kristen, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I agree with you by the way of that is so far removed of what the interview process is.
Right?
For sure. I agree.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. But then another part of me, right, don't beat me up here, but another part of me feels like if the work that's being performed is being performed by a machine or some sort of non-human thing, I I am actually okay with Indeed doing manufacturing type of interviews to solicit people who will man those machines, not physically do the work, but man the machines, right? Turn it off, turn it on. If it overheats, you know what
Right.
to do, right? I'm okay with that aspect of it, but I by no way, shape, or form am not okay with if there's any human aspect of the job that's being performed, there has to be a connector of the person that's doing the job.
Mhm.
There has to
Yep.
be. And AI is brilliant, right? It takes all this data together and it gives us the
Yep.
best answer. However, where is the emotional intelligence part of it? Is it doing reference checks? Are they just bringing people out that's quit their last 6 jobs and hasn't, every
Mhm.
other week they have a new job,
Yeah.
right? Is it creating more of a headache? That would be my fear is, are you just creating more of a headache? I mean, I'm sure Christine and I could place 50 candidates a day as long as you have a pulse, right? The
Yeah.
requirements are to have a pulse. No problem. We'll have 50 people to you by the end of the day, right? Um, so so a little bit of me is like, hey, if it has nothing to do with human stuff and it's machines, okay, allow the algorithm to properly select,
Mhm.
who can man those machines. But if there's any human aspect of it, we gotta take it across the finish line and make sure it's a person that's sitting in the seat that's actually going to have some emotional intelligence
Mhm.
along with that process.
Yeah, it's kind of like a garbage in, garbage out kind of
Yeah.
mindset is what I would worry about. Is if, and I'm not saying AI is garbage, but if the, again, it's a lack of effort, I guess, in care that
Mhm.
if you show on one side, the other person will probably reciprocate. So I would question. It could be an interesting kind of case study, if you will, to see have they had higher success rates in terms of getting people qualified people hired faster, but then also are those the same people that are having higher retention rates too? Like
Mhm. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because you have more people coming in doesn't mean you're going to have more people staying.
Yep. Good
Mhm.
point.
So that's
Yeah.
where I kind
Yeah.
of want to. I'm not again 100% opposed. I think there's always some good in these ideas, especially if it's a big company like Indeed, putting something through, like try it, but we'll see where the cards fall, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? 'Cause, like, we're just at the
Yeah.
beginning of this era, and it obviously feels weird, but I don't know. I mean, those are good points. Just a couple other comments that have come in. We got Catherine says hi from Dallas, LVI also, so that's cool.
Woo!
Hello, LVI. We got hi Kristen from Dallas from a guy named Andrea, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Then we had one which is Anastasia is asking hi from London. What's the biggest challenge in the civil market at the moment? I don't know if we have an answer to that question, but briefly, anybody want to weigh in on what's the biggest challenge in the
That
civil
name,
market that you're dealing with?
I'm assuming that's aimed at me since I said engineering and
Yeah,
transportation, civil engineering. She said the biggest
challenge in the
challenge.
civil market, I guess for California in your case. Then, if you have any quick tips on what you're facing as a challenge.
I mean, I think some of it does go back to just cutting through that LinkedIn wall, is what I like to tell people. Because I look at any engineer, whether they're transportation or a different type of civil, and it's the same thing where they said, wow, you're a real person. I had no idea. Because if you see my LinkedIn, they start scrolling and you're just like, oh my God, these people are getting hit up by, 20 plus people a day. And when you get hit up at that volume, you really start to question who's real, who's not. And so you kind of have to cut through with your type of messaging, but also with your kind of social proof that you exist through your network or maybe through things you're posting on your own page or just making the hardest step sometimes, which is going in person to prove that you are someone worth talking to and that is going to put that effort, the actual effort into meeting them and working with them and developing that kind of human connection. So I would say that's hard just because there are more people, I think, entering into this space because it is a means, like we said before, of I don't have to have a certain degree or level of degree. I don't have to come from a certain background. And I can do this job in theory remotely to an extent. So when you have more people coming in, it makes it hard to filter out like where the quality, I guess, recruitment consultants you want to work with are. So I'd say that's one big thing. And then we obviously had the government shut down. Whoop! I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that.
I mean, we're allowed to say that it exists.
We need a captcha.
So that was really hard on people. I mean, I had friends that are engineers, like my actual friends, not like my acquaintances on LinkedIn, no, my real life friends that were furloughed. And that was really tough on them, right? So I think that was something that they were facing where there was just a lot of uncertainty about what policies are changing, what's happening at a federal or government level, because that does affect then, which most of my clients are on the private side, what budgets or what their clients, since a lot of them are working with municipalities or regional agencies, et cetera, what they're able to do. And that then the amount of work that they get then affects what kind of recruitment budgets or other teams that they can build out or, bring in, that sort of thing. So I would say that those were kind of the two big things, was just getting people to understand you're a real person and working with someone that actually cares. So kind of having to make that above and beyond effort. And then also just the uncertainty about where some of the government has been have probably been the two big things that I've heard from my network.
Yeah, no, good answer. And thank you for that. A couple more comments that came in were, hello guys, and hello from the heart of Dallas, which is great. Someone here mentioned that I declined Indeed's proposal because it screens what the candidates wrote on the resume. Unfortunately, resumes that came in are mostly garbage. So while AI might have ranked them highly, a quick conversation by me weeded them out for inconsistencies. This is kind of what you guys are saying, especially you, Kristen, right? It was sort of speaking to a person and seeing what they wrote on their resume are two entirely different things, right? So it's
and we don't know we don't know the prompts in which Indeed acts on. Right. Is somebody putting in the prompts that says if they have 2 or more years of experience, send them through. Hold on. Is that 2 total years? Is that 2 per company? Right. So we don't really know the prompts. But again, that's our jobs. That's our jobs to dissect the resume. So good for you. Good for you, Indeed person who didn't accept the offer.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a really good point about the prompts. And also, I think we're going toward a big discussion in recruitment about what is more important. Is it what the person's experience was on their resume, or is it who they are as a person today? So like if someone was young and they were jumpy when they were young, but now they've grown up and they've gotten married and settled down, do we not even interview them to give them a chance to be a different person than they are now, as a more stable person than they were when they were in their 20s? Or are they forever a jumpy person in their 20s that's not going to stick to a job forever? So like weeding things out based on best practices and not even bothering to talk to the person is a slippery slope that AI is favoring, I think.
Agreed. We do have a tool. We do have some sense that come into play, and those are called reference checks. So if you were once young and you had some difficulties with stability, as you're getting older, you are creating some stability by staying at jobs more than 2 years or creating an environment, network, workspace that can vouch for you. In doing those references, somebody's going to say, wow, this has been a really great candidate. Doesn't take a lot of PTO, comes in on time, wears multiple hats when they need to. So instead of the candidate letting us know that, I think by us checking references, those things will come to light. Then again, is there a prompt in Indeed or other platforms that says, okay, we want to take this candidate to level 2. Well, what is level 2, right? I think understanding the prompts could probably better, so you can work with AI, not against it, right? We're not ever going to beat it out, but there are ways that we can work with it.
Yeah, good points. So then getting on to, and I think this is really related to the success and wellness conversation, because I think it changes the game as to what our jobs are to an extent and what they could be or what we think they should be. So like, what even is like, is first of all, is this affecting people, do you think, in a way where it's more draining or stressful than it was before? And what does success even look like now in this world, in this kind of market, to both of you individually?
So you're asking, like the like AI integration, is that making things more stressful?
Yeah, or maybe the uncertainty. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going, a lot of moving parts right now. The market is up and down. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of talk of using different tools. There's a lot of talk of what kind of candidates are actually good for jobs or not.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is big questions where we're thinking through the actual job we're doing. It's not like in a pre-COVID world, I feel like people were like, no, you go recruit, go interview them. And then like, if, are they good? Okay, cool. Send them to the job and then check in, check their references.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's always like, but maybe we should do things like this. Maybe we need to master email sequencing. And then 2 years later, we're like, email sequencing's dead. It's like we just started mastering it. And it's like, it's dead. Now it's all AI tools. And it's like, oh, you know what? Staffing's over. We're just going to replace everybody with AI bots. And other people are like, not a chance. And you know what I mean? Like there's always these big looming things, in addition to the market being crazy up and down for many reasons since COVID. What do both of you think about the whole stress and wellness thing within being in a business like this that's so up and down?
Yeah.
And how does that play into what your definition of success is for the future in this business?
So I certainly think that it takes the stress off. I have found myself less stressed while using email campaigns or different AI methods, market data. You know, if I'm going after different industries, I most of the time am going after industries that are not saturated.
Hmm.
And so I use AI for those types of tools and for that type of knowledge. That has helped me and that has made me less stressed, right? We used to have salary guides. Remember the big books, the 500-page books, you take it to the client, and now you're going through what their title is, making sure everybody's getting paid what they need based off of industry and how many employees are there. To dissect that book and really bring in market data and share that with a client who may or may not even ask for it or who may or may not even want it. You're just given value proposition.
Yeah.
That takes a long time, right? Getting email campaigns together, right? So most of my emails are relationship driven, right? It's people I know, people I've talked to, people I've seen multiple times. Those relationships are good to go to where when we're sending email campaigns, it doesn't come across as spam.
Right.
For me and personally, that part of my stress has been taken away because AI does take a lot of that off of my plate. Now, the stress component to that is there's so many people doing it. Is it still coming across spammy? Is it
Yeah.
still coming across as this is a little much, right? So I guess for me, that's kind of where the middle is. But I think that less stress does equal success. If high stress does not equal success, those I don't think that they can ever play on the same playground because to be successful, you need to make good, sound decisions. You need to have a clear headspace so that you can relax and enjoy, right? We're in sales. So, you know, it's a busy day and you want to go to lunch, right? Yeah, you can go to lunch and you can feed your appetite. However, your mind is going crazy because you know what you have to come back to.
Yep.
So, and that's
What
not
is this?
a successful day.
What is this lunch you're talking about? It sounds amazing. I don't even know what this is.
Yes, exactly,
Sounds
exactly.
great.
So finding time for yourself, pausing within the day. I even have on my phone, I have like 7 alarms. I have alarms to wake up. I have alarms to get the kids to school. I have alarms for, hey, don't forget your coffee. I've got
Yeah.
some alarms that says, hey, your head's been down for 3 hours, break, right? And
Yeah.
so there's a resting period. Hey, we're taking a break here. Hey, don't forget to make time for yourself. I set alarms for myself because I'm passionate about this industry. I'm passionate about what I do. And those that are in my circle know I'm going to go until you tell me to stop. So I've
Yeah.
created this alarm system to where everything has a time and a place. And I will say that I am probably most successful as an independent talent partner and developer in the making, or CEO in the making. I'm less stressed now because those type of components are resting in the mind, right? You guys heard the saying, "You're only as good as your last sale."
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh
hate
yeah.
that so much, right? And I don't hate a lot of things, but that is one thing I hate. I hate that it's become a staple in the staffing industry, because you are not as only as good as your last sale. Absolutely not. And unfortunately, if that is the type of message that's being sent from leadership or as a whole corporate, run, because your days of being successful are limited. It's limited with just that one statement. So I will say taking care of yourself, being less stressed does equal success.
I agree with that, because it feels very transactional, right? If you're only as good as your last sale, and transactional without the human element, we're back to maybe AI can just do it for you if that's what you want.
Mhm.
If you don't care about the human being, and you just, both of you have mentioned nurturing your network. And I agree. I think using AI to nurture your existing network, not necessarily to reach out to people cold, because they're going to think you're a spammer. They're not, no one's going to be like, huh, I got an email today from some stranger. Let's read that. Like, not a thing, you know? But for your existing network who knows you and trusts you, it's a great point, right? You can keep in touch with them so much easier, and not freak out about, oh, who do I have to email? Or, God, I forgot to email so-and-so to ask them about this.
Right.
Can I
I
ask you a
mean,
question, Kristen? Sorry, before we go to you, Christina. Kristen, what
yeah.
are your alarms sound like? Are they like your favorite song? If I had 7 alarms going on during the day, I would be freaked out all the time. Like, you know what I mean?
Nope, they are actually the same alarm for all 7, and or 6, I think it is. It's the same one. So iPhone kind of has its ringtone that's default.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just the default alarm.
Oh, okay. Well, then
Yes, so
you're
they're
not gonna be.
not all different alarms. This is about being less stressed, not more stressed. I would stressed out with all these different alarms.
Right.
Going on all day. Yeah, for
Yep,
sure.
nope, same alarm. I have an ear for it, so when I hear it, I don't ignore it.
That's good. That's good stuff.
It
Sorry to put
also
that
means that you only like maybe panic over one sound instead of 7 different sounds.
Exactly. Exactly.
Set an alarm to stop panicking about all the
Mhm.
alarms.
Mhm.
Yep.
I love that. Christina, how are you feeling about the same kind of thing? Like how this all figures in?
Yeah, I was jotting down some thoughts because it's a big topic, it's a big idea and question. But if we're kind of throwing AI into the mix and how it kind of, I guess, plays into relieving stress, I would say definitely some of it does. For me, I use AI for kind of summative features, some efficiency features, and then organization. So those are all things just to basically get more time back. So then, yes, in theory, I'm hopefully working a little bit less, or at least being able to put that mental energy or that time into doing what I actually need to do, which is developing the relationships, and actually making the calls myself. Because I'm not going to go ask AI to go make my phone calls for me, just to update clients and interviews, things like that. Like they want to talk to me, they want to ask me questions.
Mhm.
So for me, ultimately, it's never going to be the end all be all where it's going to be able to travel for me. It's going to be able to develop relationships for me. But it can make me, again, a little bit quicker and maybe take some mental load off, which in itself would, obviously alleviate some stress there. So I think that's kind of how I see it. And yes, it does play into some success, just giving you that time or that mental headspace to do what you need to do otherwise. But it's not going to ultimately just make things like more successful. You still need to put in quite a bit of effort to get to the success you want, whatever again that means to you.
I do love that both of you agree with me on this as well, though, that there's a connection between your wellness and your success. I think that's, I don't want to say unpopular in staffing, but I feel like, people are getting with it more and more. But I do feel like about 50% of the people in staffing that you see are like basically just like man up, for lack of a better word, and go, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
bootstrap yourself and work a million hours. Oh yeah, I pulled an all-nighter last night and now I'm just surviving on coffee and vibes. You know what I mean? Like you see these kinds
Yeah.
of posts all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
I live on vibes. That's it. I don't need sleep. I don't need rest. I don't need to take care of myself. All I do is work. I'm just a money-making machine. Take that, everybody. Like that's very alive and well in
Yeah.
recruiting and sales
Yeah.
and stuff.
It
And
is.
I don't I'm not a fan.
No.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah.
I don't know that that is success, really.
Yeah. No, my future self says no.
Mhm.
Um, I do think there was a time in my life when I did jump in staffing and I fell in love with the money part of it. I
For sure.
fell in
Mhm.
love with the mobility part of it. Oh, I can climb up this ladder. Wow. Right. Don't go to
Yep.
college for it. There are no degrees for staffing and recruiting.
Yep.
So I think my younger self maybe was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'll live forever. Right. But I think the future self is kind of like, that is not sustainable,
Mhm.
no way, shape, or form. But I think we just have to understand what success means to us and how we can identify that, you know, for ourselves, right? I
Mhm.
can't tell Christina what her success looks like, nor Rick. I don't know what success looks like for you guys, but for me, in no way, shape, or form is it being a workhorse for someone and just cranking it out. And next thing you know, you're aging and you got bags under your eyes and you can't sleep. So now we're drinking more. And it just never leads to a good success story.
Yeah. I think generationally, though, we're shifting
Hmm.
away from that, even within sales. Like, yes, of course, some people that maybe that's just, they're always going a mile a minute, and that's just what they believe is healthy for them. And by all means, I'm sure your firm will love you to an extent for it because I'm sure you make them lots of money.
Yes.
But I think the younger generations, and even like being a millennial, I know not everyone loves that word either, but I think for me, I've shifted away from when I've looked at all my jobs, why I've left my job. It's because I am not happy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't make enough money. It's because I was not happy with how I was then able, in my non-working hours, able to live my life. Was I
Yes.
still always thinking about work? Was I
Yeah.
having to just have less time to myself because I'd work more? Like whenever that started to happen, those kinds of things, like that's why I left my job.
Yeah.
It was never because, oh, I can get more money here. I took several pay cuts when I went from just out of college to now to
Hmm.
get to work here. And luckily now I'm making more than I've ever made before.
Yeah.
But I
Hey,
also
no,
I'm coming from education background, so maybe that's not saying much. But again, that's why when I think about why I left my job,
Yeah.
that's what's also going to keep me in my current job is how happy am I outside of my working hours.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that does equal success. Keep in mind during COVID, oh precious COVID, thank you so much for your opportunities, right? All these entrepreneurial settings came about.
sure.
Mhm.
Amazon, Uber, DoorDash, right? Create revenue for your own self. Be your own boss, right?
Mhm.
Highly attractive for those coming out of college, right? So think about it, right? I can be my own boss, Amazon, I can drive their truck, I can pay them back. And in 3 years, I have my own business or whatever that looks like. Or I can join a firm. I can be there 15 years, wait for the boss to die because that's my next position, right? Which one's more attractive, right? We're in a world that thrives off instant gratification. And so there are some avenues that get you instant gratification and that's nice, but I just don't think instant gratification brings you to a moment of real and true success. Um, my grandmother would always say, she was like, if it's not worth fighting for, it's not worth having.
Mhm.
It's a good
She would
point.
also say that diamonds are built under pressure.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's something to be said for those moments where you stick it out, for those
Yep.
Yeah.
moments where you dig deep, you learn what you can, you stick it out, you earn, you receive, and then you make moves based off of the experience that you've not only lived, but that you've been people have trained you and kind of looking up to seniors. I think those things are just missing, right?
Yep,
Seniors are
agreed.
leaving, presidents are leaving, all these people are leaving. Well, who is stewarding the top level to help these, up and coming salesmen or recruiters? Who's stewarding that business? It's missing, it's lacking. And so there's something to be said for our diamonds that are built under pressure, for sure.
Yeah.
But you raise a good point about the opposite end of this coin that I mentioned with here's the people who are go and whatever else, is that there's also kind of famously from older hiring managers a criticism of more junior people that they don't have any resilience, that they're too soft, that they're always thinking about their mental health, that they don't push themselves and whatever. And I think that that's exaggerated, but
Yeah.
certainly there is something like you're saying to like you won't feel successful unless something was a challenge and you pushed through
Mhm.
it and you grew and you overcame it and then you keep
Right.
doing that, right? So it's like I think people have to be careful to not use the mental health and wellness thing to avoid doing hard things and learning them. I think it's a
I think
danger.
that's a great point because we hire in my firm typically fresh grads. And so I'm not going to lie, like, I think it's probably across, not obviously not just my firm, but a lot of firms where we will see the most uh, dropouts from our consultants, usually within the first couple of years. Just because, first of all, when you're right out of college, just working 40 hours a week anywhere is a challenge.
Is a challenge for sure. It's your first
Because it's
job,
a
right?
totally
Like, yeah.
different schedule. So I just want to put that out there. That's just hard for any like people coming out of college. But I think when you're in a very fast-paced environment like sales, people can get overwhelmed and they think, oh, I'm getting overwhelmed. That's bad for mental health. I need to stop. I need to quit. When I think sometimes you do need to be overwhelmed your first 6 to 12 months, because when I was getting my MBA, one of my professors just said, no offense, but whatever job you either are in or will be in, you're going to suck at your job. I'm not allowed to say that word.
You're allowed to
You're
say
gonna be
way
bad at
worse.
your
It's okay, don't worry.
It's like but you're going to be bad at your job for the first couple of years. Get over it. Like, it will be a challenge. You will have to put in more time. You will have to figure things out. But once you're past that kind of learning period, if you will, then you have the option of saying, do I want to continue and actually develop a more detailed, I guess, sense of like this job, and like, do you like what you do, and can you see yourself like getting more efficient and like things getting easier, or is it just still really challenging, you don't like the kind of work it is, and then that's when you decide to make a move? Because like my first 6 months in my current job, I didn't make a sale, and I was in a market that was not built out. And a lot of people probably would have quit because they said this, again, it's not great. And I want to be making money. And that's what I thought I was signing up for, all these things. And I really thought about quitting a lot of times. And I had agreed with my husband, since I was transitioning out of, education to sales, which is a big pivot for me at the time. We had agreed, you stick it out for at least 12 months, see how it goes. And then if you really still hate it, then you make a move. And we maybe should have said year and a half, 2 years, but we just said 12 months because financially that's just where we were,
Right.
to make that work. And it was month 6 to month 12 where I built almost $500,000 for my company, like was top biller in my brand, like all these things. Like, because if I had quit at that 6-month mark, I would have not had any of that success or the promotions or whatever it was. And so I was so thankful at the end of the year that I stuck it out, those 12-month mark, like I said I would, because that's when I finally understood what my market needed from me,
Yeah.
what clients I was bringing on and how to help them and develop those relationships. Like, it's just not instantaneous. And like Kristen said, we're in an instantaneous, instant gratification kind of world.
100%.
And so for younger generations, I think that's just tough when you have all this, motivation and drive. And then when you don't get that instant success, you think either something's wrong with you or something's wrong with the job, but you should just leave and just give up.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Thank you for that. I want to try something new that we're going to do all year, which is I'd like to end off with a little game, which I will spring on both of you. You're like, God, man, Rick, how dare you? But so, do you guys know the game over under? So you have to say whether something is overrated or underrated.
Okay.
You can choose to say why, but we'll rapid fire through these things, and I'll just throw them out there, and both you guys can say whether you think that the popular opinion is that this is worse than what it is or better, right? Like if everybody loves something, you're like, this is overrated. You follow me, right? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Resumes, over under. Overrated, yeah. I agree. Cover letters.
Over.
LinkedIn recruiter.
Over.
Under.
Why over, why under? Out of curiosity.
I said underrated only because LinkedIn recruiter is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's awesome. I just think it costs too much.
Is that why you said over?
No, because I don't pay for it, luckily.
That's always good, yeah.
I think that they are developing a lot of great features, so it could, in theory, be underrated, but I think how it is used is overrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people rely on it too much, and that to me makes it overrated.
Yeah, that's true. I like regular LinkedIn myself. I've chose to use that to advantage. But anyway, okay. This one's probably obvious. Counter offers, overrated, underrated.
Over.
Cold calling?
Under.
Yeah.
I agree. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but I do.
Get back to the basics.
Yeah, people talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Working from home, overrated, underrated.
Over.
Unpopular opinion.
I'll weigh in. It's overrated. There's things to be said for synergy. There are things to be said for building culture and building the type of energy that you want. Now, if you guys pre-COVID have been in the office 10 years together, COVID hits and you're working remotely, that's understandable because the energy and the culture is already set. But for these newer companies, the newer businesses, get in the office, know your personnel, lean on each other, talk to each other, and create a culture that you would want to work in.
I will, with that commentary, say over, but I do work fully remote. So I don't want my company to listen to this and say, oh, she just needs to go back to the office. Because I do travel for work, so I'm not here all the time, but yes, I would over for the point she said. Yes.
Agreed. I'm going to say over. I work fully remote and I love it, but I also braved it was minus 13 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday in Toronto, and I went downtown to meet with one of my clients and sit down with him anyway. So there, in the bad weather.
You are a trooper.
I know. I haven't done one in a while though, if I'm honest. So I should do more of them.
Dallas shuts down at 37 degrees. So
if we shut down at 37 degrees, we'd be shut down for 4 or 5 months a year, right? Okay, couple more quick ones here. Doing references, candidate references, over, under.
Under.
I've actually had, now again, I'm in rec to rec, right? So it's like I'm talking to other recruiting agencies to do references. I've gotten to the point where sometimes people are like, nah, there's no point. There's no point in doing them. They're only going to give me somebody that's going to say nice things about them. We're not going to prove what their billings truly were. It doesn't do me any good. And I've had other hiring.
That's okay.
You think so?
I do. Rec to rec, that's okay. Hear me. Rec to rec, that's okay. Everything else, I think that there needs to be a reference, supervisor, manager, or above. But in these staffing places, there's no degree for it. You will take someone out of college as well as somebody with 10 years. So there really is no baseline for it. Case in point, I was in accounting and finance for 7 years before I even touched staffing and recruiting. I knew nothing about it. What made me qualified? A phone call. That's it, right? An introduction. That's it. So rec to rec, maybe references aren't needed, and maybe they will tell their friend, hey, just let me get into this gig. It's a production environment. you get out what you put in. So if you're, the references, I don't think it really helps one way or the other, because you set the goal of what you want to make outside of having a base, but you set that goal. So if you come in and you're crappy, that's on you. If you come in and you're a star, that's on you too. But as far as a more specialized role, payroll specialist,
Yeah.
Tax accountant, oh, we need references, right? We need to make sure the accuracy and the level of competencies are there. That's not really needed in staffing. So I'm a yes and a no on that, because you made a good point on rec to rec.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's just different, I guess. Christina, sorry.
I will also add that I've had some references, not that our firm personally handles those, but there have been a few people that are like, oh, I did know this person. They don't always give the nicest reference checks.
Agreed.
So I disagree with that. But sometimes also I think that judging someone you worked with 20 years ago when they were right out of college versus who they are now, I don't think that there are some things, especially from a technical standpoint and sometimes from a personality standpoint, that have stayed the same. So sometimes I get a little bit wary with reference checks because maybe it's the specific one industry that I'm in, but some of these engineers sometimes I think take, one or two interactions that happened 10 plus years ago, maybe a little too much to heart. And I'm like, that's what you're holding on to. And that's what you're saying a reference check. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction of where they are now. That's all.
That's a good point. Personally, I find they're way underrated. I love doing reference checks, and I love calling people's hiring managers and talking about them and learning about the company and the management style and trying to get them to be my client sometimes, you know what I mean, or whatever. I love them personally, but I feel like they're sort of going out of fashion. There's one little caveat I'll say is I had one client who didn't want to do them before the offer. They wanted to do it after the client candidate accepted, and they wanted to talk to their manager to ask them, manager to manager, I've already hired the guy. What do you think? What are the things that piss this person off? What are the things that I can do to really get? And I thought that was kind of brilliant.
That is brilliant.
But would they potentially rescind the offer if they heard something they didn't like? Because if they're using that as a way to be non-committal, but to secure somebody, I don't know. I think that's
these are I think it's possible, but I think these again are recruiting jobs, right? So it's like if the person is who we should be checking and whatever, if they've been at their last agency for 3 years and they were promoted twice, that's all they need to know. They're like, well, they stuck to it and they got promoted, so they did their thing. It's, you know what I mean? So like I think that's, again, it's rec to rec, so maybe it's specific, but yeah, if they called and they were like, who? I don't never heard of this guy before, then yeah, they'd probably rescind the offer, right?
Yeah.
If they were fully lying, then yeah, sure. You know what I mean?
I know some agencies are also doing the personality index. So maybe that is taking the place of reference checks.
Yep.
Right? Because you can't really lie on those. It's you taking a test.
Yeah.
You fail is how other people see you. And so I like those tools. I like them. I think it shows who a person is. It's almost like a credit check for a person, right? It's like, fill out this application and let's see how you can be managed, how you like to work. Are you a quiet person? Are you a people person? Are you more salesy, right? So maybe because the references are going out of fashion, maybe it's because the personality indexes are kind of taking over that and a little bit more accurate, a little better accurate.
Okay, so underrated personality indexes. I haven't gone there yet, but those are underrated. Just
underrated.
Here's a quick one before we're already at time pretty much, but I had a guest on last year who argued that from a hiring perspective, behavioral indexes were more accurate than personality ones, because the behavioral ones got to the bottom of what are the behaviors that this person naturally is about and what are the behaviors that we're going to expect of them in the job. And they might be well aligned personality wise, but if they don't behave that way naturally, they'll get frustrated, they'll get tired, they won't love the job. That was the idea. It's not, are they fitting for the job? Will they be happy here? Is the focus. And I thought that was interesting. I had never really given that thought before, but I'm like, right, this index is to see, are you going to be happy in this job with what we're going to ask of you? That seems like a good idea, right? Like to consider that.
I agree. That sounds like a great idea. It goes back to my point of when I place candidates, it's, will you thrive in this environment?
Yes.
And that does go back to behavioral differences or, whatever that looks like. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
But do you think that behavior is easier to change than personality?
Well, that's what the thing is. They're saying that they don't want to change the behavior. If this person's behaviors align with the similar behaviors of what's expected to them in the job, then they're a good fit for the job insofar as they'll naturally just it won't be a big ask. But if their personality is aligned and their behavior is different, you're so like I'm not saying their personality should not be aligned, but they're saying like, an indicator in someone staying long term and shining and doing well in the job is like example, I might be very good at something that I hate, right? I might have been a good accountant. I'd be a terrible accountant or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't mean that my behaviors are not like that. So maybe I would be miserable doing it. Just because I'm a personality who's capable of doing the job doesn't mean I'm gonna be happy doing it. I think that's the part that I thought was interesting. I'm not saying these are perfect, but it's interesting.
Right. Hmm. I don't know if I agree with that. I
Yeah.
have to think on that some more, just because at the end of the day, a lot of business development is done with, to me, business development in a very nutshell is just working or choosing to work with people you like. So personality does have a big factor in that. Now, if we're talking about certain kinds of jobs where it's more task oriented, it's not relationship or personality oriented, then sure. But I think that depending on the type of job, that may be a different answer.
Yeah. Like I have one person in mind who I'm very close to who is very outgoing, is very
Mhm.
great with people, and who is enthusiastic about things and well spoken and intelligent and possesses all the things that you figure you'd want in business development. Does not like doing repetitive tasks, does
Mhm.
not like confrontation, pushing against it on behalf of the company, stuff like that, right? So it's like, yeah, you have the personality of a salesperson, but you won't want to do the repetitive things and you won't want to push back on the company's behalf if the person says, I just don't need this right now, frankly. They're not going to be like, well, hear me out, right?
I see.
So that's where I sort of see that there's something to explore there. I don't make tools. I don't know how to make it good. I just think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like,
Yeah, interesting for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we're over time, but I thank you both for being here. This was awesome. Both of you rule. I didn't even read all the comments. It was a very active comments feed today, which I love, which is a testament to the wonderful guests we have on the panel. Thank everybody for listening live. If you're listening to this after the fact, we are live for now every Wednesday, although we might change up our format a little bit. But Wednesdays at noon, come join us or listen after wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, guys, and have a good one.
Thanks.